if we want to survive it, if we don't want to be devoured by it, if we don't want to suffer from it, from the pain that is in the world, the challenges of our life, what it requires us is full presence. It requires completely stepping up into our full presence. It's very tempting to resist challenges or say, oh man, like this is awful what's going on in the world, or my life, I'm a victim in this scenario, or this is not going optimal. I wish it was just easier. But the challenges of life are not what are preventing us from a peaceful world. The challenges of life are the path to a peaceful society and a harmonious and beautiful new earth. When we are willing to meet the challenges with our full presence, they are going to purify all that is not in line with a new earth. We cannot have the new earth now exactly because we are unwilling to go through the fire and purge out all the things, quote unquote, that are not that. So really it's doing us a favor. If we actually see that there's never a challenge presented in our life, in the whole of our experience, that we are not ready for, which we may have heard many times. When we accept that assumption or give it the benefit of the doubt and test that hypothesis in our life, what we may come to see is that we can always step up to the challenge, and with that, see that actually helps us incarnate more. So challenges are not annoying things that prevent us from blissing out in transcendent awakened consciousness, and having the challenges of the world are not preventing us from having a harmonious, peaceful society. But the challenges of life are the very thing that will make that possible in a fully glorious and graceful embodied experience. Like, even if there's an ounce of presence missing, to the same degree, we'll be incapable and unable to fully use these challenges as catalyst for our awakening, integration, and liberation. So that means we don't hide out and transcend and escape from the challenge, because in a sense you could say that is somewhat of a regression. It is basically, we came from spirit and now we are just going back to spirit. But what the challenges of life are asking us to do is to bring more and more of that spirit into, quote unquote, matter, into this plane of existence, so that ultimately mind, body, and spirit can be fully unified, so that heaven and earth can unify and be one. And I think that is the beauty of all the challenge we are faced with in our life. And to wrap this up with a very specific example, right now I am stepping up to the challenge and no longer being a victim that I want to meditate on this retreat, but it seems to be that it takes longer to finish the YouTube videos, that there is calls and guidance happening and whatnot. But by stepping up into the challenge, it's no longer a conflict or annoyance, but they actually unify and integrate. And now it's becoming a joy that I have this opportunity and I more clearly see what is actually going on, which is that you could say there's a divinely orchestrated plan that I'm realizing. It's so funny, like the divine or life is actually perfectly working. And all the mishaps and issues in our life are not created by life, but by our resistance and ignorance to what is unfolding. So when people talk about God's plan, it's becoming more and more tangibly clear how so many things in my life are actually working out perfectly and I just haven't realized it. And the more I integrate, unify, process pain, the more awareness expands and sees what is actually already perfectly unfolding in my life. And the only issue was that I didn't see it and therefore had my own will and resisted it and created all kinds of issues in the process. And funnily enough, a lot of times it was still pulling through and yielding a good result, but I just created unnecessary suffering, quote unquote, along the way, which ultimately None of it was unnecessary, but it's a really funny thing. And now I'm becoming really excited and joyful the more I see life is literally creating an effortless life for me. And if I go with the flow, it will create the highest timeline, the highest, best possible unfoldment, and I can relax. I can relax and trust life that it knows what it's doing. And of course, we don't have to take this on blind belief. We don't have to jump down the cliff just like that, but we can take one step after another until eventually we have gained enough confidence that we may be able to run. And then we have gained enough confidence that at some point we may realize that we actually have wings on our back. And eventually we may dare the first jump off the cliff, knowing that we are carried, and that eventually includes all, like even the desires that initially seemed in conflict, or the things that we thought were just our resistance. Like for me right now, oh, I don't want to do work, but I just want to meditate. It seems like just a resistance and it's unnecessary and I should stop it. But no, everything was a valid perspective and was valid. It just hasn't realized its place. And when I trust the flow of life, I'm sure that both will be integrated. Or of course things can fall away, maybe. But if it's a genuine desire, I could totally imagine myself how this unfolds, and then at some point I do get the perfect time and opportunity to be alone and do nothing. And at that point it will become very clear that it wasn't meant to be before and why. And that is kind of the perfect pearl of enlightenment that we may have had glimpses of, where there's a clarity that everything in our entire life was exactly meant to be as it is. And that is such a huge relief and such an unburdening in that clarity of it's a freedom. It is a freedom of all the burdens, because all of them have been recontextualized as perfectly meant to be. And that's all I have to say for now. So I love you and see you in the next one.